Okay, so declining balance method. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. So declining balance method, the ratio of depreciation is constant throughout the life of the property and is designated by a constant rate of depreciation K. Now, since depreciation is based on percentage, annual depreciation is not the same every year. Now, for declining balance method, lahi sa iyang pamaagi. Okay? So, if you can recall, ang straight line method is based on ano, kung ibahin lang pila ang imuhang cost, iba bahinon ra siya sa life sa imuhang property. Okay? Kung ari ka sa sinking fund, it will be based on the interest. Okay? Cost ni mo basihan sa interest para makasave ka, makahinahinay kag save. But then, ang kaning declining balance method, your depreciation will be based on a rate. Okay? So you have here, depreciation is based on percentage. For example, let's say, every year, mag-depreciate siya by 10%. Ano, no? Or let's say, for example, every year, mag-depreciate siya by 5%. So, ang declining balance method, magdepende sa depreciation rate ang imuhang pag-decrease sa value. So, this will not be, ay, nanapod niya itong error. Ngita na sa kit-kitonon. Okay? So, it will not be based on a fixed amount, but it will be based on a fixed percentage. So, recall straight line method, fixed amount every annual depreciation. Sinking fund method, again, fixed amount every annual depreciation. But for declining balance method, it will not be a fixed amount anymore because it will be a fixed percentage. So, every year, there's a fixed percentage on how much will be the depreciated amount. So, the percentage, that percentage will be the rate K. So, this K will be your percentage, your depreciation percentage. So, since the depreciation is based on percentage, of course, the amount of depreciation every year will not be the same. So, why it will not be the same? Because, as if you can recall, for example, on the first year, your equipment has an equivalent value of 1,000 pesos. So if there is a 10% depreciation, 10% of 1,000, you will have 100. So 1,000 minus 100, the remaining value will be 900. Next year, the depreciation is again a fixed percentage of 10%, for example. So 10% of 900, that would be 90. Okay? So first year depreciation is 100, second year depreciation is 90. So 900 minus 90, that would be 810. Next year, another 10%. So 10% of 810, that would be 81. So again, the amount will not be fixed this time for declining balance method, but the percentage of depreciation will be fixed. So the depreciation rate or the percentage of depreciation will be represented by K. And if you're going to solve for K, that would be 1 minus the Lth root, okay, Lth root of the salvage value over the first cost. Okay, now, what's good with declining balance method is you have a direct formula. Direct formula for the annual depreciation and direct formula for the book value. It's not like sinking fund method and straight line method wherein your book value is dependent on the total depreciated amount. Okay, so you have to determine first the total depreciated amount. Of course, your total depreciated amount will be dependent on the annual depreciation. For declining balance method, no more na no. So your book value will not be dependent anymore on the total depreciated amount. Okay? So you have a direct formula for annual depreciation. You have first cost times 1 minus K to the power of N minus 1 times K. And you have a direct formula for the book value. Okay? So for the book value, it will not be dependent on the annual depreciation or the total depreciation. By the way, this is annual depreciation. Take note, total depreciation is capital D. So your direct formula for book value would be first cost times 1 minus K to the power of N. Or, again, even though your direct formula for book value regarding declining balance method does not anymore need a total depreciated amount, but this formula can still be used. Okay, this formula can still be used. Instead, okay, if you can recall for sinking fund method and straight line method, you have to solve first for the total depreciation amount before you can solve for the book value. But for declining balance method, no need for the total depreciated amount because you have here a formula which you can directly solve for the book value. Okay? Instead, this formula can now be used. Okay? This can still be used, but this time you can use this instead, you can use this instead by solving for the total depreciated amount. So, in short, nabali na hinuon imbis na imuhang sa kuan no sa straight line method o sa sinking fund method, you need the total depreciated amount to solve for book value. But for declining balance method, since na naman kay diretso nga formula sa book value, you need book value this time to solve for the total depreciated amount. Okay? This formula can still be used, but what you only need is the total depreciated amount na lang. Okay? Pero, usually no, ang problem, mangita man yun na book value ra. So, kung ang problem, mangita ra book value, you don't need to use this one already. Hindi na kailangan. Okay? So, kanina lang ka diretso book value equals first cost. Kana na lang diretso. Okay? So, may nakanindot sa declining balance method, diretso ang formula. So, di parehas ani sa sinking fund of the straight line na kung masayop ka sa annual depreciation, automatic sayop ka sa total depreciated amount. Na kung sayop ka sa total depreciated amount, automatic sayop juga sa book value. Okay? So, domino effect. Here, dili, given maning first cost. Kanirang K. Kung masayop ka sa K, syempre masayop ka sa book value. Okay? Maoray yahang dependent sa book value. Okay? So, we have here declining balance method. So, for this one, no, let's apply this. An example, you have a plant bought a new equipment for 220,000 pesos and used it for 10 years. The lifespan of the equipment. So again, the lifespan or L is equal to 10. What is the book value of the equipment after 5 years using declining balance method? Assume a scrap value of 22,000 pesos. Uy, scrap value. Dili lagi na salvage value sa. Okay, now recall, on the basic terms, I've given you two terms, the salvage value and the scrap value. Recall, for salvage value, you can sell your equipment as second hand, no? So meaning, the equipment can still be used, okay? While for scrap value, you cannot use it anymore. You can just leave it as a scrap na lang. So that's why you have your scrap value. Now, sir, when can we use scrap value and when can we use salvage value? Okay, so I have a student before that has asked me that question, when to use salvage value and when to use scrap value. Now, usually, the problem will only give you one value. It's either the salvage value or the scrap value. It's either, di na mahitabo nga baligduha ka value ang ihatag na ay salvage value na ay scrap value. No, di na mahitabo. Usa ra gid na ihatag either salvage or scrap value. Okay? Now, for this one, since you are given with the scrap value, then you use the scrap value instead of salvage value. Okay, this will be your replacement for salvage value. Okay, so for this one, given you have the first cost, 220,000 pesos. You have the life of 10 years, scrap value of 22,000 pesos, and we need the book value after 5 years. So for this one, okay, direct substitution again. Again, this topic is just direct substitution as long as you know the formula. You can directly substitute everything. So since declining balance method is dependent on the depreciation rate. So you have to solve first for the depreciation rate K. So you have 1 minus the 10th root, again, no? From the formula, 1 minus Lth root of salvage value over first cost. So you will have here 1 minus the 10th root of 22,000 over 220,000. Okay? So your depreciation rate K here is 0.20567. Sir, why did you use up 5 decimal places? Now, as much as possible, for depreciation rate K, I want you to use longer decimals. Okay, as much as possible for depreciation rate K. as much as possible, do not use mga 2 decimal places lang, okay? So mas maayo, mas longer nga decimal place, mas maayo. Okay, kay dagko mo kay siya diferensya. Okay, anong dagko man kay siya og diferensya sa answer? It's because ang atoa manggong mga values dagko sad, for example 220,000. Okay, ang percentage ana from 1, let's say kung imong gamiton na ni is 0.21. Okay? Nya i-compare nimo sa answer sa 0.20567, dagko siya og diferensya. So as much as possible, mas daghan og decimal places mas maayo. But only for depreciation rate K. Okay? So ayaw lang nang i-0.2 ra mo gamiton or 0.21 nang kay dako kay diferensya sa answer as much as possible. So for this one, we need to solve for book value again. There is a direct formula for book value. So we just use this formula. By the way, nasayop day ko diri, no? So again, for the book value, you have first cost times 1 minus k to the power of n. You have 220,000 times 1 minus 0.20567. You have here your k. Dara ang sayop. Instead of 10, dapat 5 ni siya. Okay, nasayop ko 10, akong nabutang nya book value on the 5th year man dapat ang pangitaon. Yeah. So, sayop ko ha, take note of this one, 5 ni siya. So, ang answer na dili 22,000. So, ang answer na should be, sige no, atong sulbon, you have 220, 1, 2, 3, and then times 1 minus 0.20567. The power of 5 only. So supposedly, mo ni ang answer. Okay? This will be the book value after 5 years, 69,570. Again, ha, this should be, so this is supposedly the answer. So sayop ng 22,000, take note, di ba, ang 22,000 mo na ang scrap value. So of course, 22,000 gid ang answer kay on the 10th year man akong gigamit diri. Okay? So dapat 5th year ni siya. So sayop ko diri dapita. Okay? Kindly take note. Now, let's proceed. You have double declining balance method. Now, double declining balance method is basically the same as declining balance method. The only difference is its depreciation rate. So the ratio of depreciation is constant throughout the life of the property and is designated by a constant rate of depreciation K. Your K this time is 2 over N. Okay? So, for declining balance method, your K is 1 minus Lth root of salvage value over first cost. But your depreciation rate K for double declining balance method is just 2 over N. While the other formulas are the same. Okay, you have direct formula for annual depreciation, you have direct formula for book value, and if ever the problem needs the total depreciation, just use this one. You have to solve first for the book value after solving for the total depreciation. Okay? So again, the only difference for double declining balance method is ang rate nga K ra gid. Ang iyang mga formulas parehas ra gid na sa double declining, declining ni. Pura naman na biningging na. Double declining, double declining ni ha. Dili ni declining. Ahat na. Okay, so again, ang difference ra gyud sa declining balance method, double declining balance method is the rate K. The rest of the formulas the same. Sige, example. Example, a machine costing 720,000 pesos is estimated to have a book value of 40,000 pesos, 40,545.73 pesos when retired at the end of 10 years. Depreciation cost is computed using declining balance method. What is declining balance method? Sayop na sad ni using double declining ni. Okay, using double declining balance method. What is the book value after 5 years? So for this one, of course, you have your first cost 720,000 pesos. And then your salvage value. Uy sir, nganong na salvage value maning 40,545? Nga sa problem, it was stated it is a book value. Why? Because, take note, this is the value at the end of its life of 10 years. Recall, di ba, kung value na sa end sa life, take note nga ang value sa end sa life is basically salvage value. So technically, ang kaning book value nga gihatag at the end of the life is technically your salvage value. Okay? So book value at the end of life is the same as the salvage value. So you have to take note of this one. Okay? So, wala may salvage value there is way. You just have to analyze na may gihatag nga value diha at the end sa iyang life. So basically, bisan pag gitawag nag book value, technically mo na ang remaining value after sa end sa life, then basically that is salvage value. Okay? So for this one, again, using double declining balance method, the only difference is again the rate K. So 2 over L, you have 10 years. 2 over 10, that is 1/5. So book value can be directly solved in this method using, again, the formula for book value, direct formula for book value, you have first cost times 1 minus K to the power of N. Okay? So again, as I've said before, the formula for book value and the annual depreciation for declining and double declining is the same for both of them. Sir, since we need the book value, we don't need to solve for the annual depreciation D? Yes. Okay. Since for this problem, your book value is not dependent on the annual depreciation or the total depreciation. No, it's not dependent on any of those. Okay, as long as you know the formula, as long as you know the first cost, as long as you solve the depreciation rate, okay, then it's okay. You can solve immediately. Okay, no? Again, sa man, question.
10 na sa di mo nagamit, sir.
10 na sila kung nagamit. Ay. Pero 77, lahat naging answer. Let's check daw. 720, 1, 2, 3. Times 1 minus, okay, 1 divided by 5. The power of 5 man to, no? To 3, 5 gana ini, no? So, sayop giday ni day ahap na. Okay? So, nasayop na sad ko, no? Nasayop na sad ko og suwat, dapat ani 5. Okay? So, ang answer niya should be 235,929. So, dapat niyang answer. Okay? So, again, ha? Declining balance method or double declining balance method, the only difference between the two is the depreciation rate K. And if the problem asks for book value, you have a direct formula for book value. No need to solve for annual depreciation. Kay direct formula man ka. If you can recall, ang direct formula sa book value, dependent sa first cost o imuhang rate K. Mao gyud. Okay? So ang katong topic nga needs annual depreciation or total depreciation, that was kuan only, no, the sinking fund method and the straight line method so far. So these are the only two methods so far that your book value is dependent on the total depreciation or the annual depreciation itself. Okay? For declining and double declining, you have a direct formula. Okay. So you have this one, ha, diretso na basta declining or double declining. You only need to recall the formula for the depreciation rate K. That's what's important for declining, double declining balance method. Okay. So far, any questions regarding declining and double declining balance method? Na ay mga pangutana? As you can see, no? Direct sabrigid ni. As long as you can remember the formula and list down the given, okay, direct substitution. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the next method. It's called the sum of the years digit method or SYD method. Now, for SYD method, okay, so sum of the years digit. Why is it called sum of the years digit? Okay, it's because from the name itself, sum of the years digit, you have to take the sum of each digit of the year. Okay? So, may pasabot na, sir. For example, if I have a year of 10 years, the sum of the years digit will be, you have to add up. If I have a year of 10 years, you have to add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. Okay, that is sum of the years digit. If you have a year of 5 years, then ang imuhang SYD will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Okay? So technically, you have to solve for the SYD first. Okay? Now, so yun na naman kaya na, no? 1 plus 2 plus 3. Mura man na ipang-add up ka na. The only problem is, what if dako kay nga life? Let's say, a life of 50 years. Ay, kung na, mag-add ka diha from 1 hangtod 50. So, very time consuming. So, instead of a very time consuming way, this is the formula, no? This is the shortcut of solving for the SYD, L over 2 times L plus 1. Shh! Ano na po ning iro, ani, mangita na sa kitunon. Ay! Stilan. So, again, this is the shortcut in determining the SYD, L over 2 times L plus 1. Let's check, sakto ba ni? If I have a life of 5 years, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Okay? Let's check. Okay, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Answer is 15. If you're going to use this one, 5 divided by 2, okay, times, okay, 5 plus 1, that is 6 times 6. Answer is 15. Okay? So, this is the shortcut. So, kung di mo kahinumdum sa shortcut sa SYD, okay ra. Kay pwede raman mo mag-add up manually. 1 plus 2 plus 3 hangtod pila na ang life. Ang only problem lang yun is kung ang life kay 50 years, 100 years, kana matagba yung kag-add 1 hangtod 100. Atay ka. Okay? So, naka-problem na gid ana gid no nga major nga problema na is very time consuming. Mafurot no nimong oras. Tungod lang sa SYD. So, don't forget the formula. Okay? So, ang kaning SYD, okay, di na siya parehas no sa declining balance method o double declining balance method nga direct ang formula. Parehas ni siya sa straight line method of sinking fund method. Nga imuhang book value dependent sa annual depreciation o total depreciation. So, you have to solve the depreciation, the annual depreciation ug ang total depreciation. Okay, you have to solve for this one. Di pareha sa declining, so double declining, hindi na kailangan ng depreciation, diretso book value na yun. Okay? So, di pareha sa ato. So, for this one, you need to solve first for the annual depreciation. Now, ang annual depreciation, you have first cost minus salvage value times L minus N minus 1 over SYD. So, ano sa mga DN? Meaning, you can solve for the annual depreciation at any year end. Now, nganong kuan man mo man ang formula at any year end? It's because ang sum of the year's digit method is not like straight line method, is not like sinking fund method nga parehas og depreciation every year. No, dili parehas ang SYD. Ang SYD every year lain-lain siya og depreciation. Okay? So, sa SYD, kuan siya no, ang SYD, ang first niya nga depreciation is the biggest hangtod magkagamay. Okay, for example, ang first niya nga depreciation is 10,000. Okay? Ang second niya nga depreciation 9,000 na lang. Third nga depreciation 7,500 na lang. Okay? So muna nga, if you want to solve for the depreciation in any year, this will be your formula. Now, so may gamit aning usa sir nga or first cost minus salvage value times opposite number over SYD. Okay? Now, you have your opposite numbers because what if you forgot this one? L minus N minus 1. What if malimot ka ani? So naay shortcut aning L minus N minus 1. Naay shortcut ani. Okay, ang shortcut ana is just determine the opposite number. Saan man pag-determine sa opposite number? Okay, sample. For L equals 10, the opposite number of the 7th year is 4. Nga naman, imuhan ng ilatag 1 to 10. Nya, butangan din mo og opposite nga 10 to 1. Ang opposite ni 7 is 4. What if you have a life of 5 years? No. Write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then put also write down the opposite 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The opposite of 4 is 2. So muna mo ibutang din sa numerator. Sir, mao ginay sakto sir sa L minus N minus 1 mo na yung shortcut. Let's check. Okay? For example, sakto ba gyud nga 4 ni diri? Okay? If pangitao nimo nga year is 7, sige. 10 minus 7 minus 1. 7 minus 1 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. Sakto, 4. How about kung life is 5? Ang opposite sa 4 kuno is 2. Sige, let's try. 5 minus 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. 5 minus 3, that is 2. Okay, sakto. Okay? So muna kung malimot ka sa L minus N minus 1, remember nga ang opposite number lang. For example, I want to solve the depreciation on the 5th year. The annual depreciation on the 5th year. Okay? So what if you want to solve that one? Malimot ka ani, just remember, ang numerator ani is ang opposite lang sa 5th year. Sa may opposite sa 5th year. Kung 10 years ka, ang opposite sa 5th year kay 6. Okay? Kung 5 years na po ka, ang opposite sa 5th year is 1. Ana, no? So, hinumdumi, this is just a shortcut. Shortcut ni siya. Now, what if I want to determine my total depreciation? Okay? If I want to solve for my total depreciation, now it will be a little bit, it will take a long time. It will take a little longer for you to determine the total depreciation using SYD method. Why? It's because not like straight line method, no? If you can recall, straight line method and sinking fund method, every year of depreciation is the same. So therefore, for straight line method, you can just multiply how many annual depreciation there are. Okay? For sinking fund method, since the same raman ng annual depreciation, you can use the formula for ordinary annuity, future worth. Pero ang SYD, dili parehas og depreciation every year. Lain-lain siya depreciation every year. So if you want to solve for the total depreciation, you have to add it one by one. For example, ang total depreciation until the nth year would be D1 plus D2 plus D3 until the end. So in short, you have to solve pila man ang D1, pila man ang D2, pila man ang D3, until pila man ang DN. Okay, you have to solve one by one. Pero again, naagyapon na siya ay shortcut. Okay? Kung naay shortcut diri sa annual depreciation, naa sa shortcut sa total depreciation. Okay? As you can see, puros man ni D1 o D1. Annual depreciation on the 3rd year. Annual depreciation on the 2nd year. Annual depreciation on the 1st year. Now, take note, kung puros ni annual depreciation imo hang ipang add up, pagbalik-balik ang first cost minus salvage value ug ang SYD. Okay? Magbalik-balik ni. Because these are the ones nga constant. These are the only ones that are constant in your formula. Okay, dili man ni mausab ang first cost minus salvage value. Dili sad ni mausab ang SYD. Ang mausab kanira. Okay? So, factor out na to ang common nga first cost minus salvage value ug ang denominator nga SYD. Ang mahibilin is ang imuhang numerator. Okay? So, sir, wala ko get sir nganong nabilin ni silang duha. So inani no para mas ma-explain na ko og tarong. Okay, pinboard ta. Uy, kahinay ba? Para no? So again for SYD, if you want to solve for let's say the total depreciation until the 5th year, for example. So again for SYD, the annual depreciation is not the same for each one of them. So you have to solve D1 plus D2, okay, plus D3, plus D4, plus D5. Okay? But if you can recall, diba, each formula for annual depreciation is first cost minus salvage value, okay, times L minus N minus 1, okay, over SYD. Okay? Then plus first cost, let's say you have a life of 10 years, for example. So for this one, okay, ako uning usbon. This will be 10 minus 1 minus 1. Okay, L minus N, no? L minus N minus 1. Then plus, again, first cost minus salvage value times, ang dito nimo 10 minus 2 minus 1. Then, SYD sa ubos, the same ra gihapon. Plus, ang D3 nimo, that would be first cost minus salvage value times L minus N minus 1. All over SYD, same gihapon. D3 pa na ha, D4 plus D4. First cost minus salvage value, okay, times L minus N minus 1. Okay, all over SYD. And then plus, ang D5 nimo, you have first cost minus salvage value times L 10 minus n minus 1. Okay, over SYD. Okay? So as you can see here, di ba magbalik-balik ra ang first cost minus salvage value. Okay, balik-balik ra na. And also, balik-balik ra sa dang SYD. Okay? So, balik-balik naman na, much better if you're going to factor out na lang. Atong i-common man sila, o di? Atong i-factor out ang common nga first cost minus salvage value. And also, ato sa i-factor out ang common nga SYD. Okay? So, ang mahibilin ang numerator. So, for example, for this one, ang numerator niyang mahibilin dito, you have here 10 plus, kani, this is 2 minus 1 is 1, 10 minus 1 is 9, plus 3 minus 1 is 2, 10 minus 2 is 8, plus 4 minus 1 is 3, 10 minus 3 is 7. Okay, plus lastly, 5 minus 1 is 4, 10 minus 4 is 6. As you can see, nag-add up na 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6. Now, ang shortcut dira will be the summation until the opposite number. Anong na summation until the opposite number man, sir? Okay? Now, if you can recall, for example, no, we want to solve for the total depreciation until the fifth year. Now, if you're going to look for the opposite numbers of 5, for example, if you have a life of 10, ang opposite numbers of 5 is 6. So therefore, ang shortcut is isum up lang nimo until the opposite number, that is, isum up ran mo 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 hangtod 6. Ana lang. What if ang pangitaon is ang total depreciation until the 8th year? Pangitaan lang ang opposite, that is 3. And then ang imuhang numerator dili would be 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 hangtod sa plus 3. Inana lang. Okay? So, you just have to sum up all opposite until ang iyahang opposite number itself. Okay? Inana ra gyud. Imuhang i-sum up. Okay? Now, kung malimot ka na, kung maglibog ka na, okay raman tagsa-tagsaon nimo no D1 plus D2 plus D3. Okay raman sa man ay problema. Okay? So bisan pag longer ang imong solution, but still that is valid. Mas taas lang imong kuan. Kani siya shortcut lang ni siya. Now, you cannot find this in any other books. Okay? Walay libro nga makakita ka ani nga shortcut. It's because I don't know if I'm the only one nga naka-discover ani. Okay, kay so far no na-discover mo ko ni pag estudyante pa nako. Pwede raman gyud inaniun pag shortcut o naaram din siya shortcut. Okay, I don't know kung naabay laing naka-discover ani nga shortcut pag estudyante pa nako. Okay, until now. Okay? Kay sukad nga na maestro ko mo na gid niya kung gitudlo nga shortcut na ay shortcut. Okay? Ang ubang mga books sa engineering economy walay nag-discuss ani nga shortcut. Okay? Puros gyud basta SYD ka D1 plus D2 imo gyud sa tagsaon og solve. Okay? So paano? Hopefully dili ra kay ako ang nakahibaw ani nga shortcut, no? Hopefully unta may tagdaghan pang nakahibaw. Aside sa katong natudluan na nako before. Okay? So hopefully unta na ako makit-an nga libro nga nag-discuss ani kaning shortcut. Okay? So hopefully. Naaday libro no nga discuss aning shortcut katong reviewer ni Sir Bayo ninyo. Okay? Kaya ako may naghimo atong katong engineering economy nga part, ako may naghimo ato. So gidiscuss na ko didto ang kaning shortcut sa sum of the years digit. Pero ubang reviewers ambot lang og naa ba sila shortcut. Okay, I don't know dapat sila shortcut ang ubang reviewers. Okay? So mura ni siya ang shortcut. Okay? And then if you will know the total depreciation, of course, as usual you have your formula, book value equals first cost minus the total depreciated amount. Sige, let's apply it on an example. So example number 8. So this will be an example for SYD method. You have a company purchase an equipment for 6 million pesos. Freight and installation charges amounted to 4% of the purchased price. If the equipment shall be depreciated over a period of 10 years with a salvage value of 8% of the purchase price, determine the book value of the equipment at the end of the 5th year using SYD method. Sige, let's list down the given. First, the first cost. So of course, ang first cost nimo you have 6 million. That is the price of the equipment. Okay? Pero, gi-add up pa na ko ang freight and installation charges. Okay? Why? So, akong gi-explain diri, freight and installation charges are cost before operation. Nga na cost before operation man, so di pasabutan ng freight. I don't know no, unsay sakto nga pronunciation ni freight or freight. Okay, I don't know the exact pronunciation for this one. Freight means during delivery. Okay? Ang pag-transfer ba, bayad nimo sa pag-transfer sa imuhang equipment. Okay, gisakay nimo og barko, mura nag-fee nimo para isakay sa barko. Nya iagi na sad og ikuan og truck, o muna ibayad nimo para ipasakay sa truck. Muna siya freight charges. Now, with that, you now know nga ang kanang freight day nga charge dili na siya during operation, that is before pa sa imong operation. So therefore part na sa first cost. Okay? And samot na ang word nga installation. Ang installation is technically before sa operation, nag-install pagod ka. Di ba? So, of course, since before pa man sa operation ng installation, then therefore, ang installation is part of first cost. Okay? So that's why gi-appeal na to ang freight o ang installation charges sa first cost because these two, they are not part of the operation. Okay? So, part na sila sa before operation. Okay. Klaro ha? So far no, maura gid ni ang part sa depreciation nga critical kaning first cost. Okay, you have to determine properly asa may part sa first cost ani asa may di. Naara ba gyud usahay, okay no? Naara ba gyud usahay nga ang problem itself ang problem itself mo hatag og mga extra nga given. For example, kay numdum ko no, nakita ko og problem before nga giapilan niya og maintenance cost. Giapilan niya og maintenance cost. Kay numdum ko ana nga problem before. Now, kung giapilan niya og maintenance cost, of course, ang maintenance cost dili na apil sa first cost. Okay? Sus, kay numdum jud ko na ako mas jante ako tong gihatag. So bisag kapila na nako kapila na ko sig istorya nga dili lagi na dili na pwede appeal, mo ra ni dapat ang first cost. Okay? Sus, naagya po ni appeal sa maintenance cost as first cost. Of course, automatic wrong. Okay? Kay take note, dili man na part sa first cost ang maintenance cost during operation naman na. Okay? Dili man na before. So mo so far no, mo gyud ni ako makita nga critical kayo nga part sa depreciation. Okay? Ang first cost. Again, take note gud magyud sa definition sa first cost. Kanus man siya ma-consider nga first cost. Okay? So for this one, direct substitution lang yapon. Pero take note that we need to determine the book value at the end of the 5th year. Okay? So first things first, you need to solve for the SYD. Mo gini pinaka-importante nimong pinakauna nimong dapat buhaton. Solve for the SYD. Okay? So SYD again, life is 10 years. So 10 over 2 times 10 plus 1 will have 55. Okay? Now, solving for the total depreciation. So nga ng total depreciation rate. So nga wala ta nag-solve sa annual depreciation. Wala ka nag-solve sa annual depreciation, it's because, okay, I'm going to use the shortcut. Kung dili ko mo gamit sa shortcut, then I have to solve the annual depreciation one by one. Naniyon na ko dapat pag-solve. Kung dili ko mo gamit sa shortcut. So, ang pangutana man is ang total depreciation until the 5th year. At the end of the 5th year. So, kung dili ko mo gamit sa shortcut, I will use D1 plus D2 plus D3 plus D4 plus D5. I will use that one. Pero, since I'm going to use the shortcut, no need to solve for the annual depreciation. So, this will be, okay, recall ang shortcut, first cost minus salvage value niya over SYD. Ang mga numerator is the summation until the opposite number. Now, you're going to solve for the book value at the end of the 5th year. opposite sa 5th year is 6. So, ang imuha ding numerator will just be 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 until 6. So, you have here your shortcut. Okay? So, first cost minus, salvage value. Recall, salvage value is 8% of the purchased price. Okay? Now, kanisad, no? Pagbantay sa mga ni, giklaro yun na diha nga purchased price. I've given this problem before as a sheet work na ay uban nga ilahang gigamit nga 8%, dili ang 6 million. Ang ilahang gigamit is kaning 6.24 million. Okay? Mo ilahang gigamit. Take note, dili pwede. It's because ang purchase price ra ang gi-specify niya nga 8% of the purchase price. So kung masayop ka sayop kag basa, automatic wrong na jud gagad bilang unsa pa nakad kasakto imong mga formula diha, automatic wrong na ginadaan kay given pa daan wrong na. Okay? So basaha gid og tarong. Okay? So before na ako'y mas janting ngay na sayop. Okay? And then so using the shortcut, ang total depreciation until the 5th year is 4 million kanino. So solving for the book value using the general formula, first cost minus the total depreciated amount, you will have the remaining amount is the book value after 5 years is just 2 million na lang. 2,50,909.91 pesos. Okay? So as you can see here, again, direct substitution na na siya. Okay? Importante lang yun is kahinumdum ka sa formula. Okay? Kahibaw ba ka sa formula? Or masayop ba kag basig masayop ka no, masayop ka sa first cost or masayop kag basa sa salvage value, atay automatic wrong na yun. Masakit kis dughan kaysa yun na kay ang problem. Nya muray imong marungan ang first cost na. Sayang kayo ba? Sayang kay ang topic nga direct sa braunta kanan. Okay? So this is SYD method. Any questions regarding SYD method? Mga pangutana sa sum of the years digit method. You have questions for SYD method? Wala na. Sige, wala na. Okay? Now let's proceed with the last two. Last two methods, you have the service output method and machine hours method. Now, unsa may naa service output method? Now, service output method, okay? For service output method, you will have depreciation is based on the output of the property. Output meaning ang iyahang ma-produce. Okay? Sunday na aning service output method. Ang service output method will be, naning may tabo, no? Every time na ay output ang imuhang property, mo depreciate ang imuhang property. For example, let's say for example, na ako'y machine nga, let's say ice cream maker. Okay? Na ako'y machine nga ice cream maker. Let's say for example, every time mga makaproduce og 1 cup of ice cream, ang ako ang ice cream maker, mo depreciate siya by 5 pesos, for example. Maunay pasabot sa service output method. Every time na ay output nga ma-produce ang imuhang property, mo depreciate siya. So meaning for this one, okay, ang depreciation niya is not dependent on the life, is not dependent on the first cost, no. It's dependent on the output itself. So kung walay output nga mahimo ang property, dili siya mo depreciate. Okay? Kung walay ma-produce nga product ang imuhang property, dili siya mo depreciate. Okay? Mo depreciate ra siya every time na siya ma-produce. Mounay pasabot sa service output method. Okay? Now, as I've said before, every time na ay ma-produce, na ay mo depreciate siya. So meaning, you have to solve pila man di ay ang depreciation per unit. So per unit mo ni ang output ha. For example, kato akong gingon nga ice cream maker, every time nga makaproduce siya og 1 cup mo depreciate siya. So you have to determine first, okay? You have to solve first pila di ay ang ma-depreciate nga amount every time makaproduce siya og unit or every time makaproduce siya og product. Unit lang akong giterm dire, dili lang product. Okay? Kay kung product man good na among giuban nga dili siya ma-consider nga product, okay? So that's why I considered the term unit lang. Okay? So to determine first, okay, the depreciated amount per unit, you have to solve the first cost minus salvage value divided by the total output. Okay? Sir, total output. So we need to determine pila man di ay ang ma-produce, total nga ma-produce ani nga equipment. Sample ang ice cream maker nako, pila man di ay ka-cups ang total nga mahimo ani niya until sa end sa iyahang life. Okay? For example, na ako'y ice cream maker, makaproduce na siya og a total of, let's say, 1,000 ka-cups. Example. Okay? Another example, kani ay, pinaka-common. Pinaka-common, wait sa, guys ha, kadali lang. Okay, balik ta, no? So you need to determine first the total output. Okay, and I have another example, no? Ang pinaka-common, no? Pinaka-common nga equipment nga, you will know the total output immediately. Okay, pinaka-common ang light bulb. Okay? Or mga LED bulb. Basta kay suga, Bisaya. Okay, di ba? Kung mamalit ka, if you're going to buy a bulb, okay? Di ba nakabutang man na sa iyahang box? Nakabutang sa iyahang box, pila iyahang maximum hours of usage. Sige, sample. Sample ta para makita ninyo akong pasabot no nga kuan no. Okay, bulb bulb light bulb box. LED. Ano yung kita tayo? Ayaw ni. Kaya hapon malasada man eh. Okay, kanang makita ang yan, napod. Hapon eh, Lazada mo eh. Mga ads mo sa Lazada. Eh. Ang itataog nakabutang ang kuan be. Maximum hours. About this one. Uy, Lazada man eh, kapuya ning Lazada yari ta dire. Aha. Madaray, for example, kani oh. Kani, ito ni kuan be. Kuan, para mas klaro din. For this one, oh. Ibutan niya 40,000 hours. Mo ni total output sa kani nga bulb, kani nga LED lamp. Okay? This can be used for 40,000 hours. Na ano mga examples. Kani siya kay time man. So magamit ni siya sa dire sa machine hours method. Kaya ang machine hours method is based man pud sa imuhang hours of use. Okay? So ako lang gi-relate dire. Okay, kay dili man gyud siya daling makuan no, dili man gyud siya daling di mo gud daling makakita og mga equipment nga mag-list down pilay maximum nga output ana. Okay? Usually no there are equipments nga wala gid siya nakabutang pila kay maximum nga kani eh. Kaning mga printer, arita sa printer. Printer. Okay. Maximum print. Ano yun? Kani murag nindot ni nga sample. This one. Tak eh. Wala man nakabutang. Ano na lang, no? So far, as I have known, kay naamang gid na siya sa box, no? Nakabutang man na sa box sa kaning Epson, kanino L3110. Naaman sa box ani so far, nakabutang na. Every kuno full ink, let's say for example sa black, every full nga refill, every full tank sa black, makaproduce, dili dahit sa black, colored dahit tanan nga colored. Every full tank sa colored, maka-print siya og maximum of 4,000 ka papers, colored printed papers. Okay, again, maka-print siya og bana-bana ka 4,000, maka-print siya for a total of 4,000 ka print. Okay, so muna example sa output. So ang life sa imuhang usa ka ink, imong i-assume nga okay 4,000 mo na imuhang total output. Okay? Sample gipalit na ko ang printer, ang kaning L3110. So far mga 7,000 man ni siya. Ang tanatong 7,000. Yang salvage value ana, pila may life ana. Usually kuan man gyud na no, kanang abusaran man gyud. Hangtod gamiton man gyud na, hangtod maguba na gyud nga di na gyud siya magamit. Sige, pwede ibutang na lang natog scrap value na lang na. Scrap value ana 100 for example. 7,000 minus 100 divided by ang total output. Dili. Ang first cost ni ani is dili ang printer. Ang ink day ang ink. Ang ink may gibasihan atong 4,000. Okay? So pila man ang ink? Pila man ang ink ha? Ay butang ta lang 500 ang ink, butang ta lang ang usa ka cartridge is 500 nya minus 0 na ang scrap value ana for example, yang total output niya kay 4,000 ka papers ang iyang ma-output nga total. Okay? Sa usa ka puno nga puno nga tank. Okay? So ina na mo na pasabot sa total output. So you have to determine first pila di ay ang depreciated amount per output nga ma-produce sa imong equipment. Then if you want to know the total depreciated amount, you will have depreciation per unit is depreciation per unit times QN. Ano sa maning QN? QN is the output of the property until the nth year. So if you want to determine pila may total depreciated amount until the nth year, you have to determine first pila may total nga output until that year only. Dili ang total. Okay? Until that year only, it's because until that year man sa nang gipangita. And then, of course, book value equals first cost minus the total depreciated amount. So you have here, again, this is the general formula. Okay, kani, mas madaling masabtan kung atong i-apply sa example. You have a certain machine cost 40,000 pesos and has a life of 4 years and a salvage value of 5,000 pesos. Now, the production output of this machine is, on the first year, you have 1,800 units at 400 hours. On the second year, it can produce 2,200 units for using it for 475 hours. On the third year, you can produce 3,000 units, okay, on this machine if you're going to use this for 560 hours. And then for the fourth year, you can produce 4,000 units for using it for 760 hours. Okay? Now, if the units produced are of uniform quality. So gi-assume na lang no nga kada ma-produce nga output ani nga machine parehas ra. So walay guba, i-assume na lang sila tanan parehas nga okay, good tanan. Okay, walay guba, assume. So what is the book value at the end of 3 years? So after 3 years of operating this equipment, pila may book value na lang niya? So again, first, solving for the depreciation per unit, that would be first cost minus salvage value. So ang first cost niya, dara. Okay, there's no other thing there nga pwede na ito ma-consider as first cost. Ang imuharang price sa machine. Minus ang salvage value, it is given. Okay, divided by the total output. Now, you are given the output per year. So imuhang total output would be, imo lang i-add up tanan, 1,800 plus 2,200 plus 3,000 plus 4,000. That would be your total output. Okay? Now, usually, sir, what if, nato nakapakutan na ako before, no? Sir, what if, sir, ang kanang equipment kay walay kuan, walay nakabutang, pila ang total output niya nga bana-bana, gikan sa manufacturer. Okay? Basta inana, no, usually, mahitabo is based on previous data na lang. Okay? For example, imuha lang tanawon, kung nagamit na nimo nga equipment before, pila man ang iyahang na-produce before, na total. Okay? Inana ang mahitabo. Pero sir, what if sir, first time nako nang gamit? Okay? Kung first time na nimo nagigamit, among buhaton is, mangutana jud ka sa manufacturer itself. Okay? Kung mangutana ka sa manufacturer, pwede ka matagaan nila og average nga output. Okay? Average lang. Pero usually, manggod, muhatag ra ang manufacturer kung mangutana ka. Okay? Kung wala gibutang sa box or wala gibutang sa iyahang manual, muhatag ra ng manufacturer kung mangutana ka. Okay? So, muna nga usually, ang kasagaran gyud nga gihimo nga pamaagi is based on previous data na lang. So nagamit na nila before na ilahan na lang gibasihan didto. Last nga gamit ani niya nakaproduce siya og kuan, let's say 10,000 ka units. No, basihan na lang ana. So puros na lang average. Okay? So this is the depreciation per unit. So every time nga kaning machine maka-produce, makahimo og product, mo depreciate siya og 3.18 pesos per unit nga ma-produce. So if you want to solve, no, not if you want. So we have to solve for the total depreciated amount until the third year. So ang depreciation per unit times pila may na-produce nga unit until the third year only. So 1,800 sa first year, 2,200 sa second year, 3,000 sa third year. Okay? Again, kutob na sa third year kay ang pangitao na ito nga total depreciation until the third year naman. Okay, so you have the total depreciated amount is 22,260. Then solving for the book value using the general formula. The book value after 3 years is 17,000 na lang, 740 pesos. This is the remaining book value. Okay, this is using service output method. Now the other one is machine hours method. Now for this one, pare-parehas ra ni sila og pamaagi sa pag-solve sa service output method. Okay, pare-parehas ra ni sila. Nakalahi lang, ang machine hours method, gibasihan sa oras. Ang service output method, gibasihan sa output. Sumuna ginakalahi niya. Pero ang formula, pare-parehas na. Okay? Tanawin mo ang formula, service output method, o ang formula sa machine hours method, pare-parehas na. Ang nakalahi lang, per hour lang dari. Okay? Ang hours lang dari. Ang service output per unit lang dari. Okay? So you have here, again, no? So from the name itself, machine hours method. Okay? For this one, your depreciation is based on the number of hours the equipment is being used. Okay? So every time nagigamit siya, mo depreciate siya. So for this one, gifix lang siya nga per hour. Every hour nga gigamit siya, mo depreciate siya. So for example, let's say for example, no? Ang katong kuan, katong sample nato nga asa man tong suga. Okay, sample na tong nga suga for this one no kani. Okay. So 40,000 hours man ang iyang total. So every hour ani, okay, every hour mo depreciate, every hour nga gigamit ni siya nga lamp mo depreciate ni siya. Okay? So, mo ni siya gamiton nga total number of hours nimo. Kani siya no, kani. Okay? Kung given sa imuhang equipment. Pero kung wala gihatag sa equipment, again, you have to ask the manufacturer. Okay? Or, what if dili kahatag ang manufacturer? Or, what if walay mahatag ng average nga data ang manufacturer? So, you don't have any choice. You have to, okay? You have to base it on your previous data kung nakagamit na kaana before. Okay? Banaon na lang nimo. Let's say for example, kani nga suga, kuan man eh, kanang nigamit ni namo for 5 years, una na guba. So imo ding basihan pila man ka hours ang 5 years. No, for example. Okay? Pero kung wa jud kay data, kay wa jud ka kagamit ana before, kuan lang, simple lang imong buhaton. Mag-research ka. So imo ada yung pangutan-on ba kay mga kaila. Okay? Mangutana ka sa lain nga mga companies kung naa ba sila data regarding ana. Okay? Kung dili kung muhatag ang company. Okay? Kung dili, ang jud kay choice. Okay? Mag-research jud ka na. Okay? So muna siya gamiton, muna siya pasabot diri no sa total number of hours. So every hour nga gigamit ng equipment, mo depreciate siya. Okay? So ang formula parehas na sa service output method. Sige, let's apply it on an example. Okay? Na example parehas na gihapon. Okay? Parehas na gihapon sa service output method. Anong parehas naman, sir? It's because ang kaning problem na amang good time. Okay? Na siya number of hours nga gigamit siya. So, this can also be, kaning problem can also be used using, can also be solved using machine hours method. Sige, no? So, same problem using using machine hours method. First, determining the depreciation every hour. Okay, determining the depreciation every hour, you will have first cost minus salvage value as usual, pero ang denominator nimo will be total number of hours na. Okay? So for this one, first cost 40,000, salvage value is 5,000. Okay? And then ang total number of hours nimo for this one, naamon siya given nga number of hours every year. So imo lang nang isum up tanan. Okay? So for this problem, it will the equipment will depreciate a total of 15.95 pesos every hour nga gigamit siya. Okay? So for this one, kada oras nag-depreciate og almost 16 pesos. So butang tag 16. Okay, kada oras 16. Teng, tak 16. Another hour, teng, 16 na pod. Okay? So kada gamit nimo ani nga equipment, kada oras nga gamit, tak ang iyang equivalent amount. Okay? So if this is the equivalent depreciated amount per hour, then the total depreciated amount until the third year would be ang depreciation per hour times pila man ang total number of hours until the third year. Okay? So you have here your total depreciation until the third year. So using the general formula, first cost minus the total depreciated amount, the book value is 17,111.75 pesos. Okay? So as you can see here, lahi-lahi nga method pero same problem. Pero lain-lain po ng answer. Ang service output method, 17,740. Ang machine hours method, 17,111. So, medyo taas gamay ang remaining value sa using service output method. Okay? Pero, dool na gid sila gyud naa sa about 17,000. Okay? Again, bisan pa og lain-lain nga method na siya, dili sila dapat parehas og answer. Lain-lain gid sila dapat og answer. Okay? So far, any questions? Muna ni last. So far, any questions regarding the different types of depreciation or different methods? Mga pangutana. Mga pangutana, guys?
Memorize on dyan na namutan na ng formula, sir.
Ana, good. Okay, you don't have a choice. Okay, kay ang kaning depreciation nga topic ari ra gyud ni daugon sa formula. Mao ra gyud. Okay, mooy ni iyahang key point ang formula mismo. Okay? So far no, naka-experience ko ako mismo ang board exam before, nakasuway ko nga ang ISAS nga board exam na siya or sa ECE kay GIAS mo na sa ECE, sa EE kay ISAS na ay ilam to ka problem sa economy ha. Murag unom siguro to, unom ka problem sa engineering economy. Okay? Nya na ay duha ka problems ra sa depreciation. Okay? Nya ang mga problem niya direct sa gyud. Okay, dili ka mo problema og unsa nga klase sa method kay isulti man gyud unsa nga method. Ay mo ra gyud problemahon. Ang pag-remember unsa ganito yung formula ani nga method ha. Mo ra gyud imo ang problemahon. Okay? So kay numdum pa jud ko sa ako ang kuan no. Kay numdum pa jud ko ato ang usa ka problem kay gihatag niya an XYZ company mo ni muna nya solve using SYD method. Mo gito akong nanumduman. Ikaduha, nalimot ko si ikaduha day. Ang primero ra akong nanumduman. Okay. So, duha ra ka depreciation out of the 6 ka problems nga nanggawa sa engineering economy. Yan atoy usa, dito ito usa. Murag duha sa dito ka annuity, yang usa ka compound ug usa ka simple interest. Murag mo to. Usa ka simple, usa ka compound, nga duha ka annuity ug duha ka depreciation. Ano pa dito usa oy kapito nga problem kay capitalized cost mo siguro to. Nya ako pang ako pang i-explain dire. Ato pang future topic pa na nato capitalized cost. Okay no? So again, ang kanirag yung problema ra gid ning depreciation is ang paghinumdum ra gid sa formula. Kung makalimot ka awa, ay swerte. Inig nimo, take nimo sa board exam kung nalimot ka sa formula sa depreciation, wa jud kay mahimo yun. Bisag kung saan pa nimo nag-troubleshoot, bisag kung saan pa nimo nagbana-bana diha, kung nalimot ka sa formula, wa gyud. Kay arang-arang na lang ang straight line method. Kay ang straight line method pwede ra man mabana-bana. Okay, nganong pwede man mabana-bana ang straight line method? It's because again, ang straight line method imo ramang bahinon. Okay? The cost of the property or the asset is equally distributed to its life. Ora man ang straight line method, no? So pwede ra dili na kakailangan formula straight line method, bana-banaon lang nimo nga pila iyang cost, imo na ibahin sa pila iyang life. Madiretso na nimo bana-bana. Pero ang others di gid madag bana-bana gid. Kung wa ka kay boss formula, wa jud kay answer na bintot-bintot na lang jud kay. Okay? Wa jud kay choice. Okay. So any other questions? Okay, no? So muna akong giingon nga kaning depreciation mo ay usa sa pinakasayon gid nga topic. Okay? Kay mo ra man yung unahon-naon ang formula. Di na kailangan pa mag-analyze nga kung ano pareha sa annuity ba, hindi ka kailangan mag-analyze nga kailangan ako kung kuhaon ako iyang present worth, asaon ako pag-equate sa iyahang withdrawal no, di na ka kailangan mag-analyze. Diretso na lang kag substitute sa formula. Okay? Now, we'll have another sheet work. Okay, another sheet work. Okay, gani. Now, I want you to kaning example sa SYD method. Again, kaning example sa SYD method. Solve using declining o double declining. Kaning example sa declining, solve using double declining o SYD. Ang kaning example sa double declining, solve using declining o SYD. So meaning kanilang tulo ka method, kanilang tulo. Okay? Kaning tulo ka method, declining balance method, double declining balance method, o ang sum of the years digit method or SYD method. Ang mga example nila, you're going to solve using the other method. So ang example sa declining, solve it using double declining o SYD. Ang example sa double declining, solve it using declining balance method o SYD method. Ang example sa SYD method, solve it using declining balance method o double declining balance method. Okay? So parehas ra gyapon sa sheet work number 4. Ang sheet work number 5 ninyo, kanang tulo ka method, ang iyahang mga examples, solbo nimo using the other method. Nakuha ba ang unsa inyohang sheet work karon, sheet work number 5? Nakuha ra ba?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Oh, by the way, dili din sheet work no, I will give this as an assignment kay saan man oras? Alas 12 Gs naman, hapit naman sa 12:30. So I will be giving this as an assignment. Okay? So mag-post lang ko diretso assignment number, kapila man ning assignment, okay? Post ra na ko diretso, then you just have to submit. Again, ang deadline would be on or before next meeting. So dapat 10:30 pass na, on or before 10:30. Maoy deadline. Okay? Klaro?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, no? So I will be giving this as an assignment. So if you don't have any more questions, thank you very much for attending this meeting. Hopefully you have learned something new today. Thank you very much. Goodbye and God bless.
Ang daghana dyan, sir.
Bye,
Thank you, sir.
sir.
Thank
Bye,
you,
sir.
sir.